Welcome to Meta Tripping, y'all. Um, what a day! What a day already. There is a lot of there are a lot of changes to astral positioning taking place from what I've noticed on my end, and a lot of healing. So areas that have been triggered and really for like at least on my end for like about almost a year. Um, the resolutions for those situations are like finally emerging in a way that is giving me a sense of stability. And it is Virgo season, so we have we have to give thanks for that Earth element energy and the situations that are allowing us to kind of realign with our higher timeline positioning and stabilizing within it. So, if you recall the Lionsgate energies this year on August 8th, it was serious chaos. There was a lot going on in the astral, a lot. And there was like astral etheric positioning taking place. So this is literally the patterns that are in your body, in your light bodies, taking different configurations that match your higher timelines. So what I noticed about today, after the reading earlier this morning, is that when you're able to get into a state of relaxation and trust and get in contact with the energies of soul family, and you can do this with meditation, you can do this simply with connecting and getting into that vibe. I noticed it was like being pulled up out of something in the astral. So, there was Syrian contacts today. And it was, this has happened at times for healing, really, the last two, including today, the last two times. I was specifically told it was for healing reasons. When it first happened, there wasn't exactly communication. There was a lot of I don't know if I really should even be getting into it, but it was almost like something I guess that had to happen because I didn't feel like I had a great deal of control in the process, but I felt my chakras, my upper chakras anyways, being worked on, and a definite presence in the room. And at first I was frightened and I looked to the resident feline god and he was asleep. And I was like, how are you of all times right now sleeping through this? And the winds were just out of control. So the first time I experienced this, I was not a believer in any kind of physical alien connection. Interdimensional is more along the lines that has always made sense to me. But in that moment, the winds were going so crazy and the vibes were so crazy, and I saw who was involved in working on me. I was seeing images. They were communicating type images. What I'm coming to understand now is like contact. To some extent, it can look. I don't know. It's like a dream time thing. It's real time. It's a face-to-face sort of thing where you are communicating. But in this case, I was really just being silently kind of. The message was kind of like, you know what I'm saying? Just, hush, like, I guess calm down, that type of thing. And I did, and I had a very telling dream that night, which I'm probably not going to get into at this particular moment. And maybe one day I'll get into like the full details of that story. It's something that I haven't really, like, I've told some people, but it's something I don't typically bring up a lot, because you have starseeds out there, I think, that have known for a long time what, you know, like what's up with their DNA and their mission, and they've come into realizations perhaps before me, or maybe already had an attraction to kind of aliens and the idea of alien technology and what have you. In this case, for me, oh, and by the way, when I looked out the window, the winds, like it was just, the winds were wild, but I didn't see like any spaceships or anything, not in my case. I think I might have passed out if I saw spaceships, to be completely honest. But, today's was different. And the time just before this, I didn't see them, but I felt the presence in the room unmistakably. I felt the pressure in the air, and I turned to one of my spirit guides who's often with me, and that's when I learned that I was being worked on. It was like my solar plexus, but they were not showing themselves. But once I knew like who it was connected to, I was cool with it. So this is a bit of a thing of inching out for me. Sharing my experiences with it, because it's been quite a lot for me to wrap my intellectual mind around. On a like soul level, there's a certain degree of knowing and complete comfortability, like on that empathic level, but on an intellectual level, I had certain thoughts of, I guess just what you come across when people, get on the topic of aliens and disclosure and things of that nature. And I was always pretty close-minded about actual physical aliens. But interdimensionals, I could rock with that idea. And now I'm having kind of like vague theories forming of how it could possibly be akin to physical, a physical thing. But that, again, as I awaken more and become more comfortable, then I'm sure I will become more so informed. For what I have recognized is that there is a certain amount of respect for your pace in this thing, your readiness. So for those of you out there who are experiencing the opposite, if you're experiencing very negative interactions, then and I with whomever, where you feel like you're receiving some kind of contact, but it's really negative and scary. I have experienced the other side of that too, on and off for a year. But that's not your people. Okay, like that's not your crew. So today, the opportunity that's being afforded, and I'm not saying this is going to be for everyone that you're going to have contacts today, but I'm saying that by making contact with those that you have true soul ties with, you can cross a bridge. Whether you see the bridge or not, in the astral and etheric, that is what is happening. You can feel it. I think a lot of you that are listening that are empaths, like you'll be able to feel it. At this point in the game, you know what I mean? You'll be able to feel it. And if you choose to see it and hear it, then that's, you know what I'm saying? Then that can happen too. So if you're still struggling with like the 9D energies, and bringing them into balance with the 6D, there can be a lot of anxiety. There can be there can still be anger and frustration. It depending on how you were able to work with balancing the emotional kind of activation, energy, the sparking identity, energy that affected the kind of the inner child level yesterday. If some of the frustration, all that has come in to today's energy, do your best to relax. And relaxing can be challenging, especially when you're being worked on behind the scenes, and when you're astrally traveling essentially, but while awake, but there's aspects of you that are dealing with multidimensional things. If your adrenaline, because of the 90 energy, is just not allowing you to relax, there are ways to engage it that are harmonizing and relaxing at whatever level of intensity you're dealing with. I just saw a synchronicity. So music, dance can help you get more in alignment. You know what I'm saying? Like with your get your chi flowing and your alignment with your body flowing. And because it's music and it's music you like, you're engaging your heart. So these are like very simple methods, but they work. What you want to be able to do today is avoid falling into any deeper into the kind of the negative traps that have been set in the background and the spiritual attacks going on, because you absolutely can. Like, you can shift right up. Like, I shifted right up from a place that I had to go into a state of peace just to like stabilize and be all right. But now I'm in, I'm still kind of recalibrating, but now I'm in a place where I'm feeling like everything's going to be okay, and I don't have to chant it a number of times to get there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have to struggle to get there, even with spiritual attacks. You know what I'm saying? Like those attempts trying to go on in the background. So, it's, up leveling, but with assistance. All right. So you can call on spirit. You can, if you do know, if you do identify with a certain star system, I'm sure this is a great day for you to contact your folk. You know what I'm saying? Your ancestors in the stars, your star sisters. It's a good day for that. Very good day for that. And continue doing your purification and your self-acceptance. Like earlier I did a reading, and working on the self-acceptance energy is definitely going to be to your benefit. And so the reading that I'm going to do today, hopefully this intro is, of a decent length, because I really don't like to ramble, but like sometimes it happens, and I haven't like had coffee for a couple of days. Like, I'm trying to switch my habit to like tea, even though it's still caffeine, and it's not like the kidneys appreciate caffeine because of the tannins or whatever that are in them. But I am trying to adjust like some of my physical habits and just get back into like eating more greens, like way more greens, because I remember when I was feeling at my most optimum and when my thoughts were at their clearest, you know what I'm saying, without me having to do a lot of energy work, I was intaking a lot of kale, you know what I'm saying? I was eating in a certain kind of way. And like summer, I'm not even gonna front, was sandwich season because it was simple. But that's neither here nor there. So I'm gonna get into this reading now, y'all. And thank you for your patience with the intro. All right, so we're gonna focus on a few things, and I'm gonna try to pull it off in a time-effective fashion. First, we're going to have a look at the divine feminine. You are a loving, illuminated being, so on point, because Draw in the Light is a subtitle, and that is exactly what I experienced earlier. So that is at the foundation of the pathways that we're building right now. You are worthy is the challenge that comes up along that pathway. You are capable is where the divine feminine will be finding herself very soon. All right, so let me, I'm going to do the divine masculines cards as well at the same time. Power spark is at the foundation of the pathways the divine masculine is building. Spirit's chiming in. This is in concerns to building a pathway to the divine feminine. Heart light is the challenge. And do what is good for you is the outcome. Where, and I'm getting like where he's going to arrive for like full synthesis. All right. So in a lot of these cases between the divine feminine and divine masculine, what I'm receiving on the transmessage I'm receiving are very clear about the fact that we're already merged. All right. Divine feminine and divine masculine are already merged. Okay. But what's coming through is the divine masculine kind of has to find his light and follow that light to the position that he needs to be in the astral so that he can up level. And it's crown chakra work. There's going to be crown chakra work going on. I think one of these, 8Z, as above, so below. That makes sense to me. Do what is good for you. Take flight. So this is being in that position of having a mind-body alignment, basically, along the lines of like what is actually good for you, so that you're not on a course where you're going through cycles, thought cycles and their manifestations that underserve you or underserve the masculine or undo the masculine. Just a moment. I am going to pull tarot for when I get into kind of the relational dynamics that may be going on with the divine masculine and divine feminine. Kind of at the mundane level of things. Divine feminine. What I'm picking up is the divine feminine is there are a lot of tears going on right now, but there is in that process. Of letting go, and in some of these cases, like, loss or perceived loss, because some things that are lost for a time are found again. And, it's always something good to keep in mind. And Spirit is chiming in saying very true. The divine feminine, it's kind of, it's like I'm seeing imagery of her, trying to hold something that is kind of dissolving away. And mourning over it. And I know for myself, like I've been going through something similar And drawing in light it's an act of will. It's something that you can do at any time when you feel empty, when you've dealt with vampiric attack and you've been drained and you feel disoriented. Like, you can draw in the light. And with this card, it talks about like 1D. So it's like drawing in the light to like that existential point within yourself. So these are very, very, very deep wounds that are being cleared. And it can be easy to doubt and easy to look for the worst case scenario in these situations. But the challenge here instead is to trust in your own worthiness, rather than feeling like you won't be filled again, or that you can't be filled again. This is a society that has taught us that, we have to live up to certain standards of perceived and imposed ideals of perfection. And this has caused a lot of divine feminines to distance themselves from themselves. And accept yourself is one of the cards that came up earlier, and it's a huge part of this process. It's huge because when you accept yourself, you accept the divine masculine. And vice versa. When he accepts himself, he accepts you. And there is no conflict at that point because there's no need to put up shields or ego defenses. There's no fear of a recurrence of formerly negative patterns that have wounded the heart, past betrayals, anything that the divine feminine is carrying within her that causes her to keep the divine masculine at a distance. And working through these things is very important. But a faster track there is to go to the heart of the matter so that you don't have to go through 20 situations that happened in your life and do this deep psychological analysis of it. What you do is you get in touch with that part of yourself on an energetic level, and you love yourself, and you give that inner child the light that she needs, and that light is going to reanimate, you know what I'm saying? That cosmic light, if you will, is going to reanimate the sense of purpose, and the anima, which is the activating, one of the activating principles in the divine feminine, divine masculine dynamic, at least like if you're talking about like Jungian archetypes. The anima needs to be connected with some degree of inspiration, and that is what the animus, which is like the divine masculine counterpart, within, that's what is provided. But if there's a cutoff, and the cutoff is literally can take the form of things, people, places, on an astral level, and as above so below down here. So you'll see with a lot of people that are talking about, like with Twinflames, whatever terminology you prefer, sacred other, divine partner, even soulmate, you know what I'm saying? Twin spirits, twin souls. I mean, there are a number of ways, and schools of thought, in regards to this process. But when there's a barrier between you and your sacred other, that is where you're going to find the complications and the things that need to be worked out, and the bridge that needs to be crossed so that there can be, a synthesis, a true synthesis. And when you have true synthesis, from what I'm getting from spirit, like, you have everything. You're complete. And I don't want to say this in the sense that you're not complete without, another person. I definitely don't want to say that, because I do kind of rock with the what is it called? There's a is it Hieronymy? Forgive me if like I'm not thinking of the right word, but it's basically a twin flame theory that looks at vibratory levels and vibratory resonance, and along the lines of that concept, you can have a number of twin flames, you can have your best match. So you can have different people who will come to you and match you on certain levels of self, depending on where you're vibrating, and then you have like your best match, twin flame. I can rock with that, and Starseed Energetics is probably one of the places that I had heard the concept that basically like your twin flame is yourself, I guess like reflected through the other, and so like that would be the highest level, and when you get to that level, everything falls into place in life. I'm seeing evidence of that. I've been seeing evidence of that for a while now, that when there is a sense of harmony within, with both hemispheres of my brain and my inner divine feminine and my inner divine masculine, it reflects positively, really well on like the outside reflection. We deal with fractal consciousness, so it's really not a surprise. And you having your sacred other, you have two different worlds in a sense, that when they come together, more so, Spirit is giving me momentum. Like, that's when you have the momentum and you're propelled to move forward towards, if you want to look at it as your mission path, but your pathway to higher timelines, to your best life. You know what I'm saying? The best possible outcome. So this is where, when you hear about the Adam and Eve parable, even though, I don't rock with the religious thing, but mainly because a lot of the parables are based on earlier myths, and that was admitted by the Vatican, like in the 1930s or 40s, they admitted that there were plagiarisms in the Bible. So it's something to be aware of, and be aware of the versions you're reading and that sort of thing. But the symbolism in that parable speaks to what this process is about, basically, on a certain level. And the idea of there being a splitting of the self, and then needing to find a reunification to kind of get back into that paradise state of consciousness. You're going to find this archetypal story, in other places. What's most important is like the process that's being described, because then that is what we're talking about when we're down here, and when things are askew and we're out of balance. Even if you're not in a physical union with your twin flame, you know what I'm saying? You are in a spiritual union. All right. And if you're feeling like you don't have a lot of energy, if you're feeling bereft, it clues you into the fact that you are not as connected, you know what I'm saying, to your animus, your divine masculine, your source of inspiration, and, that spiritual light, the original spiritual light. All right. So you are worthy. Both of these cards are 1D. You are a loving, illuminated being. You are worthy. We're establishing our sense of worth upon the fact that we are loving and illuminated beings. So this is why it is so important today to do your very best to get into a heart space and be around people who nurture and love you and accept you, and, and connect with soul family in the best way that you can. so that you can get on the proper track. If you're not there already, like some of you listening could be there already, because this work, it goes on. It's not always where we're being told what's happening, but with the choices that we making the right choice shifts us into another segment of where we need to be, so we can continue to clear pathways upwards. You are worthy. The energy that I'm getting with this is reflection on the past, and nostalgia did come up actually in the earlier reading. Looking to the past for inspiration, the positive past, the heart-aligned past, that which lights you up, is also going to help to get you where you're going. Because the whole point here is for us to re-inspire ourselves, and that is what we can do with that 9D energy. So as opposed to get into frustration and power struggles, which can be very, very tempting, and get into like anxiety and nervous thought patterns, getting into a state of a sense that your existence is offering something to the collective, becoming aligned with that realization, looking at past accomplishments, realizing how much you mean to the people that love you. These are all things that are going to, and I'm seeing a synchronicity, going to release the grip of that which is not you, and that which may be trying to pretend that's the direction you're supposed to be going in, but that direction, it's illusory. It's not real. It's fear-based. It's kind of like shopping with your eyes, you know what I'm saying, rather than with your heart. And especially if your insecurities are being played on. So getting lured into certain things because they fill an insecurity. This can be jobs. This can be relationships. Some people get in relationships because the person that they're becoming attached to, they feel enhances them in some way as a status symbol. But it's not a real relationship. It's a functional, that's almost like a business arrangement. You might find yourself having a difficult time establishing a soul connection in a situation like that, unless your particular path, with your twin flame is constructed in that fashion. When you're dealing with your soul family and those who know what your worth is, and you don't have to twist yourself into pretzels to prove it, or mask yourself or hide. When you're in those kinds of connections, like you're home. So at this challenge point, follow your heart. And when you're presented with something that's, amazing, you know what I'm saying? Know that you're worthy of it and allow it to come in. Follow divine guidance as a subtext of this card. You know what I'm saying? Allow like the good that is there for you to come in. And that's where the alignments can take place and the reconfiguring can take place. Because what we're dealing with time-wise, it's a shifting thing, and we're learning how to, the same way we learned how to walk, we're learning how to maneuver ourselves at astral and etheric levels. And it has a great deal to do with your thought processes and your soul family environment, if you will. The people that you allow yourself to be connected to and that you allow to be connected to you. When it's right, all of that well-wishing that's going around benefits everyone. Similarly, when it's wrong, connections that you could be forming can be poisonous to some of the soulmate connections that your soul family connections. So it's important, you know what I'm saying? It's important to really like go within and be aware of, your ties and the various ties you've made, and why, and the various choices you've made and why, and come into a state of acceptance and accept your true worth. And this is very important for the divine feminine right now. For at least for the into the next month, for about a month is what's coming through with spirit. So this, this could be something we're going to be dealing with for a little while. And it's not too surprising because Libra season is right around the corner. And this is something that Libras struggle with. Libras struggle with maintaining a sense of identity in their connections because of that people pleaser tendency that can come up. But when you are in an authentic connection that is nourishing to your soul, it's not a people-pleasing thing at that point. You're not people-pleasing. Like, you're home. You're with family. And you can be yourself, and it flows differently, and you're not on edge. So all of that to say, getting through that, I'm feeling like what's happening, I think a lot of... Okay, well, Spirit is saying some people are, like, being worked on, like you're being calibrated, like your quantum embodiment process, is taking place through these choices that you're making. And you're being worked on so that you can be like sturdy enough, you know what I'm saying, to like stand in the position you're meant to be standing in and like shine, wherever it is that you came down here to actually do service. You are capable it's that card that this you are worthy process is leading into. So this is just going from a place of feeling unworthy and recalibrating yourself into a place where you know that you are worthy, and it's because you are a loving, illuminated being, and that's all that you need to be. And you're capable. That's going to lead you into your awareness of your capability. You know what I'm saying? And your sense of fortitude. That's the subtext of the card. Your sense of fortitude. You know what I'm saying? In this thing. So the divine masculine is dealing with his power spark came up at the foundation of the pathways that he's building. And this is the divine masculine is trying to raise as much energy as he can right now. So motivation is the subtext. And that came up earlier just for like the general. So we're all feeling it because we're all connected. You know what I'm saying? If the divine masculine is ailing for energy, then, odds are the divine feminine is ailing for energy as well. So in this process, the divine masculine is to some extent trying to retrace his steps, trying to make sense of how things work, that like the causation process, how he can get to where he's going is like at the forefront of the strategy, but also like the why of things, like why, you know what I'm saying? It's almost like he's feeling like, why does he have to start at square one again? But Spirit is saying like, but he doesn't. His treasures are waiting for him. You know what I'm saying? In his heart. So, if the divine masculines are finding themselves out of alignment with their hearts, or out of energy, it's because they've become out of alignment with their hearts. So, if you're a divine masculine listening, or if you're the divine feminine kind of like listening to the divine masculine's portion, the the choices you were making. Okay, so directly from spirit, the choices you're making, I'm sorry, depending on how they're making you feel, depending on how your energy levels are telling you how close you are to where where you're supposed to be. So if you're feeling like you're ailing, you might want to take a look at the people that you're surrounding yourself with. You might want to take a look at, you know, the plans you have in mind or the lack of plans thereof, for moving forward. Spirit is saying take a look at what makes you feel that you are worthy and analyze it. When have you come alive in the past out of a state like this? And that's what's coming through with spirit. And spirit is saying chances are that's a direct pathway to your soul family, and your soul family energy. All right. So this nostalgia came up earlier, and it's bearing here again. Like, yeah, like looking backwards a little bit is gonna help, but look back to the positive. Saturn is direct today, but the Saturn retrograde season that we just passed through brought us through a lot of stuff that isn't desirable and that we didn't want to look at, but that's why it was a retrograde season, because we had to go back and look at it. But now if you're going to go back and you're going to look at things, you want to look at what from the past is empowering and inspiring to you to the way you should move ahead now, because consider the fact that you've been planting seeds for your timelines, your higher timelines. If you've made like a choice that doesn't feel right according to those timelines, then it may be time to go back and like revisit how to alter your course in the right direction. And the love in your heart is going to get you through that. Okay, so yeah, and that's exactly what comes next is the challenge, which is heart light. And heart light is renewal. So a lot of y'all need self-time. You need time to think. Reflect. Okay, yeah, Spirit's saying reflect. So it's a kind of like go back and reflect. You know what I'm saying? And like get into a state where, rather than go in a direction where you feel like you're dissolving and everything's dissolving, like be honest with yourself about what gives you life. It's as simple as that. Well, maybe not. Okay, so Spirit's saying that maybe not as simple as that. Okay, but because that is where the renewal is. In your self-honesty, Spirit is saying. You know what I'm saying? And Spirit is saying, like, getting into that self-honesty is going to get your heart light going. It's going to get the light flickering. You'll have your courage back, a sense of strength, and you'll be better for it, is what's coming through Spirit. And following that, do what is good for you comes next, and that's take flight. All right? And that's 8D, as above, so below. And take flight, the energies I'm getting for that, will do what is good for you, take flight. I mean, it feels like what's being said here is at that level you can feel what you need to do. You know what I'm saying? And control yourself enough that like you're able to do it, to preserve yourself, to preserve your family, to preserve your mission. Spirit is saying. So Spirit is saying like the divine masculine's been struggling with like self-control. Like it's almost like there's too many suggestions in your head. You know what I'm saying? Quiet that is what's coming through Spirit. What is your heart telling you? Where do you want to be? You know what I mean? If it's for you, it's yours, is what Spirit is saying. All right, y'all. So I'm going to move on to, this is excellent. I'm going to move on to the middle column where we, where we have fun with duality time. I'm going to pull the tarot, see what's going on with that. All right, I'm being instructed to shuffle just once. And once again. All right. This is beautiful. At the foundational level, the way that this pathway is best going to be created is by letting the conflict just fall. There could be irritations that, we all have different situations that try to come up in between, sacred union. It's just what it is. And when we resolve these things, we clear the pathway. You know what I'm saying? We clear the pathway where there was separation and duality between not only the divine feminine and divine masculine, but the left and right hemispheres of your brain, your ability to function on a holistic level, like with your whole system being fully engaged and active. And we're talking about patriarchal situations. Being in a patriarchy is a kind of situation that, because it promoted suppression of the feminine, put the world sheer out of balance, and a lot of work has had to be done by divine feminines who've had dealt with a lot of abuse and have had to self-heal and really rely on their connections to spirit to get through some unthinkable pains. Pains, humiliations, disappointments, loss. The conflict, what I'm getting around this conflict, the energy here. The divine masculine wants to reach out in a certain way to kind of touch the feminine, you know what I'm saying? Gentle touch, and let her know it's going to be all right. And this can be in unions that are physical. It can be in unions that are not physical, or unions that are in what they like to call separation. Even in a physical situation, it can be like being in the same household, and the divine masculine kind of wants to reach out and connect and reassure the divine feminine, but the divine feminine is so lost in her angst and her grief that the divine masculine is afraid to. And that's putting him in a place of, kind of it's testing his sense of courage and testing his sense of feeling like he's even needed or wanted. And that's what I'm getting with the Power Spark card and the You Are a Loving Illuminated Being as the advice. at the foundational level with resting. Just drop the conflict. You know what I'm saying? Whatever conflict is at play, whatever anxieties, it could be anxieties over a bunch of things. It can be people, it can be actual people trying to interfere in the relationship. Whatever is preoccupying the divine feminine to the extent that it's trying to re-traumatize her. The divine feminine, in the act of allowing in the light, is helping the divine masculine to get his spark going as well, because now he feels like he's needed and he has a place. You understand what I'm saying? So that's kind of how delicate this thing is here, and how subtle our actions, how subtly our actions can influence how things end up playing out, and how miscommunications and conflicts can arise. King of Cups is next, and this is the challenge. The challenge after dropping the conflict is a mastery of emotions. The king represents, mastery, and the cups represent, emotions, the water realm. Situations where the divine masculine is putting too much blame on the divine feminine. And the divine feminine like freaking out and not being able to deal with the weight of that. This is a situation where it's the divine masculine. As he gets into his heart light, he can see clearly, and the chaos that he is feeling, he does not have to project on the divine feminine. You understand what I'm saying? And at that point, she can breathe, and she can come in a state where she can feel all right and where she can feel stability. And this can work both ways with both of us doing our work and following the advice of how to go about building these pathways of, trust and union. And Ace of Cups is showing up at the top, which is what we're trying to reach. And that is really, it's symbolic of the open heart, the inspiration of emotion, true love. Once the divine feminine and divine masculine can get past the conflict and emotional mastery issues, that for the divine feminine, the emotional mastery issue is her worthiness. That is where she's being hit and triggered. And the divine masculine, it's his heart. It's operating out of his heart. Society has told him to operate out of his ego in every way it could, with every shiny red car or token female, you know what I'm saying, on a big spender's arm. Like, society has told you you're not a man if you're not handling it like this. But when you operate out of your heart, your goals and your motivations look very different. And what actually renews you and renews your soul is very different. So, returning, working on those issues, returning to a state of knowing what's real, really, for both, is going to help facilitate this heart opening, the Ace of Cups. And at that point, the divine feminine is going to feel like she has what she needs to continue on, because we've gotten to a point where the divine feminine's been struggling with feeling broken down and kind of unable to keep moving. She's going to be in that state once she can get into an open heart place and healing and renewing very quickly. Once the divine feminine can really open her heart again, she's going to be healing very quickly. And the divine masculine is going to have all his energy back and be just as spastic as you please, and full of light and excitement, and doing what is good for him. And that is when your missions will unfold, your higher timelines, if you will.